All right, welcome everyone to the Autumn Lantern painting. My name is Anita Thompson, and it's my pleasure to be here with you this evening. This is a step-by-step 5x7 painting. We hold the canvas, actually, it's more like 7x5, 7 inches down, 5 inches across. You are welcome to ask questions in the chat. I have the chat up so I can always see it. You're also welcome to tell me to, go in closer or repeat the last step, whatever you need. So, oh, okay, 7x10. That's okay too. Yep, 7x10 is good too. Whatever you have, yeah, 8x10 is good. It's okay if you have it larger. That is absolutely fine. So, it'll just be a little bigger and that's okay. All right. So we're going to get started. I forgot to completely introduce myself. My name is Anita Thompson. I teach art workshops for libraries and other venues. And it's mostly beginner classes. And I do have a YouTube channel. If you're interested at the end, I can let you know about that. I'll put it in the chat. And welcome, Jean. Good to see you. We're just getting started.
Thank
Um,
you, thank you.
Yay, you're welcome.
Here we go. Okay.
There you
Ah,
are.
all
Yep,
right.
we're just getting started. I'm just going to mute you just because we started recording, but it's so good to hear your voice,
Oh, thanks.
as always.
Okay, so I need my paint. I got my canvas. I need the rest. Okay.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to recopy in the chat one more time in case you need the information here. So I'm just going to copy that in the chat. Okay, so we are going to get started with the drawing part of this. So the drawing part is really mostly the lantern, and then the leaves are actually sort of impressionistic. So we literally take our flat brush and we create leaves, sort of a two-prong approach, and I will show you how to do that. That being said, if you feel more comfortable drawing the leaves, I will also give you that option to do that. Okay. All right, so let's get started. So we're going to start off first with our pencil, and we're going to be drawing our lantern on the right side of our canvas. And I'm going to kind of go in a little bit closer now that we've started. So you're going to see my camera kind of zoom in a little bit. There we go. Okay, so starting off at the right, on the right side, we want to make sure to leave room at the top so that we still have the background happening. So we're going to start off with the curve of the lantern post. And so we're going to kind of make like a sort of like I was going to say kind of like a C, but not really, kind of like a backward C, kind of like a candy cane shape in a sense. And so we're going to go right up against the edge of our canvas here. Now you're welcome to draw it a little bit differently if you want it to be a little more to the left. I always mention in my classes, you're welcome to change anything you like. You're welcome to change colors. You're welcome to add things to your lantern. You're welcome to take away from things in your lantern. I've had a few people draw a moon in the top left corner. You're welcome to do that too. Okay, so this is the first start, and now we're going to continue with the shape of the lantern here. So we're breaking it down into sort of bite-sized pieces here. Here's the next shape, and then we're going to get even bigger with the main portion of the lantern part here. So that's also going to be broken down. and I'll give everybody a chance to catch up. Isn't it great that we're all cozy inside tonight, that we can paint and let the wind howl? That wind is crazy. I'm curious if anybody saw, I think there was a squall this morning of depending on where you're located. Some people got snow, some people didn't get anything. Um, Others, like myself in Doylestown, got sort of a wet, um, kind of like a sleet. Let's see. Yes, I know. It's so funny. I was just teaching in person for a kids program at Warminster Library earlier, and it's funny because some kids were like, "What? It snowed? We didn't get anything." So I realized that everyone got something a little different. Okay, so we're going to continue now with the rest of the lantern here. So these two parts here. So this part here is a little smaller, and it's also a bit curved. And so what that's going to look like is this, and I'm just going to, I'm gonna put that up close so you can see it. So I made a little bit of mistakes here. Make sure you make those sides rounded. So sorry about that. And with that, I'm gonna go even closer.
Anita, the lines above, are they curved or are they straight across?
These,
Yeah.
this is curved.
And
Yeah,
the one above it?
this one here,
Yeah.
this one is curved. This should be curved. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I
No,
actually
no, that's
did
all
that a
right.
little more straighter.
I want to make sure I get the angle right.
Yeah, I was going fast. Sorry about that. Yeah, so these lines should be curved so that this will read as more of a, a rounded lantern. This part is the small part here. And then we have a bigger piece. So I'm going to go like this so that you can see. And again, also curved on the sides. Like so. Oops. And then right here at the bottom, we have a bit of a straight line with two lines going downward like this. I know there's quite a bit of detail with this lantern. And then we have one more section that is a little bit bigger. This is straight across. And again, flared outside here. And then there is one more kind of lip, kind of a ledge, if you will. And you can draw that there and make this a little darker. And then I just realized I forgot to draw one thing up here. Let me just see. 1, 2, 3. Nope, nope, I drew it. I was looking at something else. Now we're going to draw this bottom part. And so on either side, we have lines that kind of go inward. With a flat bottom, except that we want to make that look more three-dimensional. going to show that up close. We also have 2 lines in the middle, thin ones. That's part of the lantern. So here's one, and here's one. Then we have our candle in the middle. You know, very basic shape here, a rectangle, a flame, and we're going to have, you know, a bit of the flame around it, a bit of the flame, I should say, excuse me, the shining part of it. We're almost done with this drawing, and then we get to paint. Also, right here at the bottom, we want to make a line because this is sort of like a step in the sense of there's, you know, this section is a little smaller and then it gets a little bigger. And then we finally draw the round part here. And sort of a black ball like detail here with a straight line there. And then we have a few more details. 1, 2. Okay. So here's where, if you like, you can start drawing leaves. What we're going to be doing with this is, oh, actually, one more thing here. Let's make the 2 sides that we created here, the 2 lines, let's make those 3-dimensional by adding another line. Sort of blends in a little bit with the background on mine, but it's darker. So you can now either create your leaves, or what the next step is, we're going to be painting this whole background black. And so you can choose to add the leaves afterward. You can add them now. It's a little harder with pencil to see it on black, you know, but that's your option if you want. You could also use a white colored pencil if you have a white colored pencil afterward. So I'll remind you if that's something that you want to do as well. I'm just going to make my curve a little bit curvier up here, but we're now going to be painting the background black. I'm just fixing my post to make it a little bit curvier. in this section. All right, so we want to start off with our flat brush. For those that are not familiar, flat brush is literally, it's flat. The bristles are flat across the top. I love it, Emily. It's all good. You can make it look however you like. If you don't want it curved, that's okay too. So we're going to add black for now to the background. We're going to be making a little more of, adding some blue afterward in the black later on, just to give it a little bit of dimension. You're also welcome, and you'll probably need to, use your round brush in order to kind of cut into the smaller sections, the more detailed sections of the lantern. I sometimes start off with the bigger, as you can see, I'm sort of doing the larger areas with my flat brush. And then I kind of cut in with my round brush. Sometimes I recommend doing the opposite, but I don't know. I'm doing this tonight. This way. I'm being a rebel. If you feel the need to have more than two brushes, feel free to do so. You can grab a bigger flat brush if it helps you cover the canvas quicker. You can also grab another very tiny round brush if you need more of a smaller brush in order to get to the detail. Whatever you need. I'm about to switch brushes just because I've done mostly the larger area. I'm going to grab my round brush here. And this is where we really take our time as we go up against the outline. Now you're probably thinking, there's also black in the lantern. And you're right, there is. So we will be adding a bit of blue to the background area before we actually paint the lantern. And just take your time. Hopefully this is the last thing you're doing today, the last part of your day. We'll be mixing some colors too. Definitely be mixing black and white for gray. Yellow and our bluish for the green. And I will mention all that when we do it. Oops. Said oops because I knew I have a bigger brush that was sitting in my water cup, and I kept sort of painting really close to it, and I knew I was going to make it kind of fall. Luckily, it didn't fall on my rug, so that's good. Definitely had that happen before when I was teaching a class. Again, just take your time. This part should kind of feel like a coloring book. Just mentioned those coloring books again about a month or so ago because I realized they still had them, and then kind of popped up in my on Amazon, and so I bought one for like a Halloween inspired one, but I never got to. I never had the chance to color in it, so maybe next year. Can't wait to see what these look like. I know that they are all going to be different. The first batch that people sent to me, sent me pictures of, were all different and just lovely. So I think these will be the same, similar. A little tip, if you find that your paint is getting drier, as the weather gets colder and drier, excuse me, sometimes the paint kind of clumps up. You can add a little bit of water. Since this is acrylic, you can add a little bit of water to your brush and or, a little bit to your paint. And it should help spread that paint a little bit easier. Also, I like to paint the black of the lantern sections right in front here. I like to do those after we do the background. So you can leave those alone for now. And if you want to kind of get some fresh water because your water might be kind of inky like mine is, I like to get a fresh cup of water after I'm done painting the black background. I'll be right back. see. All right. Fresh cup of clean water. Let everybody catch up. I will believe that Thanksgiving is literally, let me think, it's not even 2 weeks, right? Today's the 17th. Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, I always feel this way. Right after Halloween, I feel like time really, the end of the year just sort of starts to pick up speed. Whenever you're ready, you're going to mix a new paint color, which is going to be a bit of that blue and some of the black. And so you're going to get sort of a slate gray. And we're going to add a bit of that into our background when we get the chance on the right side. I'm going to kind of show the color here. And what we want to achieve with this color is sort of like a backdrop of, or I should say, the suggestion of some greenery kind of in the background. And so if your black is not wet, you can, meaning your black background, you can add a little bit to it as you're doing it. But basically, I'm looking for kind of like a little bit of a smoky, um, sort of a smokiness to it. And I'm using my flat brush and literally making almost like rectangle type shapes on top of the black. Now this is in the background and also very close to the right side. Kind of, actually, it's a little bit outlining the lantern in a sense. So, I say to make, those shapes But then as I get closer to the outside of the lantern, sort of go right up against it. Like so. We'll be using this color again. Excuse me, later on. Also, when you're ready, we're going to be making a third color, which is going to be a charcoal gray. And so with that, we're going to use black and white. So that's going to be sort of a darker gray, medium gray. And then we want to go next to it and make a little bit lighter of a gray by adding more white. So here I am kind of making a little bit of that lighter gray. This one is more of a darker gray. Have to mix it a little more. So it's very subtle, but it's, you can see the difference here where it's darker. And then right there, it becomes lighter. Just a smidge. Now with that, we're going to actually paint the post that darker gray. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add some of the lighter gray and then some white. You can use whichever brush you feel most comfortable with for the post. I tend to use my flat brush first when I'm able to, but as it gets thinner, meaning the post, I switch to my round brush. You can also make your post thicker if you want. It doesn't have to be as thin as mine. Just taking your time We're working with architecture now. And basically what I like to do is, then grab that lighter gray and start to give it a little bit of a lighter shade going toward the outside of the post. You see how that's a little bit lighter. Now you can make it even lighter if you want by adding more water. More white to it. So I'm going to doing that here. I want it just a little bit lighter than how I painted it.
Anita, where is the light? The light gray,
Um,
does it start up top?
yep, up above here.
Up
Yep.
above? Okay.
And so the other thing you can do is add in a little bit of some black to make your gray a little darker on the inside of the post while it's wet. So it will make it a little bit of a medium gray. And then also you can have some parts of the post have a little bit of black shining through it. So again, this is down toward the inside of the post here, away from where the light would be. Again, I'm adding black. I'm also sort of outlining a little bit the post in black on this side, so that it's quite darker on the inside here. And then we'll add some white along the edge, meaning on the top part of the post. This is all about blending right here. We're also going to be adding, start to add our blue, but not quite yet. I'm going to start getting a little bit lighter by grabbing my white. Again, using the round brush at this point. And I like to put the white on the tip of my brush. And then very lightly start to add the light along the edge of the post here at the top. So again, I just put a tiny bit on the point of the round brush, kind of like drawing with it. And once you put the white on, you can then get into your turquoise or robin's egg blue, whatever the light blue you have, or light blue. And I like to go and add that blue now, right on top of the sort of light gray next to where we added the white. And I don't add it all the way down the post, kind of add it like right here at the top where the post is kind of curving. And then again in other spots on the other sections. But this is what we're going to kind of be doing for the rest of the sections of the post, or I should say the lantern. Again, starting off with that dark gray in each section. So I'm going to mix a little more of that gray. And so here again, when you're ready, start with the next section. And these get smaller. You can even paint this next section as sort of one hole and then go back in and kind of separate it by making lighter parts, which is what I'm kind of doing here. We will go back later on with black to go in between the sections after we paint everything, the darker gray, the medium gray, the light gray. So again, with these sections, you want to make sure that the gray is getting lighter, a little bit lighter on the left, and then really light on the insides of each section. So I'm now taking each section of the lantern and I'm adding a bit of white mixed in with the gray. And then going back and adding pure white on the right side. Now, if it's a little too dark yet, you can add more white and make it a bit thicker, which is what I did here. This is all about blending, using your brush to blend. You want to make sure that your paint is a bit wet so that you'll get that gradient, right? So you can see that this is a darker gray on the left, kind of a medium gray going towards the middle, and then this is more lighter. And I'm going to add some more white to it after, but I kind of want to get that feeling that, you know, the light part is happening and then the rest of it is also you know, a little lighter and then or a little less lighter and then a little darker. Hmm. Hmm. Hi Bhakti. So we are recording. So we started around 6:35, 6:36 p.m. Maybe even 6:40. I'm not sure exactly. Um, oh, okay. Well, this is being recorded. So, you know, if you want to hang around and see what we're doing, you're welcome to do so. We're in the painting part of the lantern. But it's being recorded, so it will be sent out to all those who registered. So, um, you're welcome to, you know, leave and wait for that as well. Or, like I said, you can absolutely join us um, as we are now. It's great to see you. Sorry that you were late because of your son. I hope everything worked out. I let my lantern dry just a little bit. I'm adding a little more white. on this side. And then, again, we add some blue, that bluish greenish. I add it quite thickly in these sections. And then I start to outline now in black, since the gray, right? Since we now have gray, kind of outline the outside of the lantern and in the middle in black. So you can see me doing that here on the left side, being very careful. Outlining it in the, separated sections. And I even like to go back, since we finished painting the post part. I like to go back now and also outline the post in black as well, right up against the background. If it's dark already, like if yours is too dark, it's okay. You don't have to outline it. I kind of like that outline against the background. And our next section, we're going to start off with our black outline instead. So meaning that we will paint in between the black that we are going to now switch to. And I will start us off by doing that. So basically now, using your black as an outline in each of the sections, and then you're going to paint around each of those sections. We were doing it the opposite before, but now we're kind of changing it up a bit. And again, just take your time. So again, if you missed what I'm doing, I'm now, we're switching it where we are now outlining the sections in black. And this is where you really want to go slower so that you can make all the curves and lines that you need. As we're getting more detail here. Also remembering, you can add a little bit of water to the point of your brush when you're using the black in order to make it a little more inky. And if you like at this point, you can also make sure that you paint the thin parts of the lantern black. You can always go back and repaint them. I definitely do that at this stage. It helps to define it a little bit more. I like to also go down below and paint in the rounder areas here at the bottom. We're going to add some of that light blue to them after in order to give them a bit of a glow. And of course, after you have added the black areas, I'm gonna keep using that process of now making inside the medium gray inside each of the sections. So I'll show you what that's going to look like. So you're basically painting in between the black lines. So what I like to do is kind of paint in between them semi quickly, and then I can add some lighter or darker gray, depending, but the black lines in between definitely make it easier to look realistic. Remember, you then go back in and you can add some touches of white to your gray. Again, I like to do that on the right side of each section. And we're also going to be using a bit more of that light blue again in each section. You know, and here again, you can go back in with your black if you need to redefine in between the each of the sections, you can do that. And when you're ready, you can go back in with your blue. And I like to kind of outline around the edge, but inside the shape of each section. Just realized I used a little bit of a different blue for this painting rather than my original. I used more of a turquoise with the other one, and this one I think is like an ocean blue. This is serving as a bit of a highlight. Don't forget to add it to the round shapes at the bottom. And I like to add a little bit of some lighter gray as well. It didn't show up in my original as much, but I'm going to add that here. And I think I'm even going to add just a little touch of white to those. And this is going to get us into the inside of our lantern, which is a combination of red, orange, and a sort of a darker red in the candle, which is red and black. It's going to make a burgundy. I'm going to show that. Again, if you mix a little bit of black with red, you're going to get this darker red color, which is how I got the candle color. So again, that's red with a touch of black. And I paint the candle with that. And I added a little bit of white to the right side so that it blended in with it and made it a little bit lighter of a color so that it looks like it's lighter on that side. And then, you know, inside the lantern, around the candle, and sort of the around the burning part of the candle, I add a mixture of red and orange and yellow. And I'm going to make a little bit of green as well. So what I do is I start to add a bit of red on the canvas. You can pre-mix it if you like, but I just added it onto the canvas. And then started sort of adding chunks of yellow at the bottom of each section to kind of turn the orange into an orangey yellow. Part is really tiny, so you want to take your time. And around the outside of the candle is yellow with a little bit of orange mixed in, just a tiny bit to make it a little bit of an orangey yellow glow. Candle in the middle is more of a yellow and white. And you can kind of take a glop of the white on, so that to the flame on the tip there. And remember I mentioned the green. I use that blue and mix it with some yellow to get a green. And we're going to be using that later on for the leaves as well. I like to kind of add it sort of at the bottom of this section of the lantern. You can even add a little bit of black to it so that it is a bit more of like a foresty green or like a pine green. You can add a little bit of orange to it so that it looks a bit of a kind of like a mucky green, like right here. And again, I just add some random colors along with inside the lantern of the red and the orange. I tend to kind of add a bit of that green up against the black kind of the black posts of the lantern. Basically what I'm trying to make it look like is that the leaves from the background are kind of shining through. You know, and if you have to go back and, go back to your black and repaint over the lines of the lantern, you can do that after you're done with the background inside the lantern. I also like to sometimes go back and just make a little bit of the gray a little darker in some sections of the lantern. Adding just a little bit of black while it's wet. And you're probably wondering about the leaves when you get to that point. Um, just make my candle a little bit brighter for the leaves. So this is where, I start to take both my round brush and my flat brush, depending on what you feel more comfortable with. And I literally go into, like, say, my orange, and I'm going to paint like teardrop shapes like that for leaves. And I even go in and I might mix wet right on the canvas. So I added some red to this one. But I literally start to make kind of these teardrop shapes for leaves on top of the black. And so I just used orange. This is where you're going to start to use green. You want to do it a little bit on top of sections of the post. You can also use your blue. I'm starting off with orange here. You know, and by letting it mix into, you know, different colors, you can make it look like it's kind of turning a bit. See, I just add a little more red to some of the oranges. I'm even going to add a little bit of, tiny bit of like a peach color. You know, you can make sections that look like there are a bunch of leaves by kind of going like this with your brush. But I like to start adding some of the green as well. So again, that was the mixture of the yellow with your blue. So see, I'm kind of going right on top of certain sections. So that it looks like the leaves are kind of falling together. Some are on top of each other. Now remember also with the green, you can add a little bit of black, and that's going to look like a little bit darker of a green, which I'm doing right here. And it kind of hides a little in the background, which is also kind of nice. It looks like dark green is happening in the background or on front. And I'm going to add some of that light blue. I like to add it a little bit on the edges of some of the leaves and then a little by itself. I added it to the tip of my brush. Some more orange here. You know, sometimes I add kind of clumps together of the orange and the blue. Or however bright you want your leaves. Can't wait to see what these look like. I'm going to give you another few minutes. I'm just going to go wash my brushes in the next room. Putting my email in the chat, and then see if I can find my YouTube channel. If not, I'll at least put a name. Let's see. Put the name of my business to look up on YouTube because the last time I did this, I think I knocked myself off of Zoom. I'm going to give it one more minute and I will stop the recording. And then if you want to show yours, you are welcome to do that. So we'll give it another minute. I'm going to stop the recording.
Is the flame the actual